witches and wizards, and welcome one more time to Medicinae Siderum, but this time in a new format, in this new project which is Medicinae Siderum's podcast. I am Luciana, the plant alchemist, your host, and in the following episodes I'll be sharing with you everything I know in practice about witchcraft and territory craft practices, alchemy, and much more. And if you're like me and you just love witchy stuff, then I am that voice in your ear that tells you stories. Let me tell you also that this podcast will have a first season of 10 episodes that will be released once every week. So with that, let's dive right into it. I'd like to inaugurate this first episode with a short story about who I am and what I've been doing for the last 10 years. But let me start from the present and back. Because as a witch, of course, I'll start from the ending. I define myself today in my practice as a practitioner of territorial witchcraft, which is because since I moved 3 years ago to Northern Ireland, without really seeking it, the spirits of this land told me how to do my practice and what to do in my practice. They inspired me this way. This whole process started as a slow adaptation and communication that kicked off with nature walks on my local beloved Greenway, formerly a Belfast and County Down railway, which was closed in the 1950s, and the government held on to the land, expecting to build a motorway, the M7 motorway. But informal walkways developed along the urban sections over the decades, and in the 2000s, it was turned fully into a greenway. So that's a little bit of history, and just by hearing it and reading it now, it makes me think that nature in Ireland is so indomitable, so wild, that whenever we humans try to turn it into something productive for us, we just can't. She always wins. She always takes over. And this is exactly my point. This place has molded me and my practice, and it has spoken to me through the grandiose oak trees, the birches, the maples, the flowers in spring, and its peculiar earth medicine. I am a territory witch because this territory had made me a witch for itself. And I use the term witch because I like both the cultural and spiritual impact of the word. Its transcendence and its meaning, which for me, it means revolution. But we'll talk about this in another episode. This territory has the potential of turning any spiritual practitioner into a Celtic territory witch, or so I believe. With this I mean that I have been practicing forms in different branches of spirituality before I arrived here to Belfast, particularly in Northern Ireland. I'm Argentinian. I was born in Argentina, and I started my path as a yoga instructor. I'm a certified yoga instructor. I started studying in 2014. I did a 4-year training, which was very, very intense. I've learned how to work with people, not only how to teach classes, but also how to teach other yoga teachers. This taught me how to work with groups, and from then on I started doing courses, not only teaching yoga training, but also I'm a Reiki master, so I've been healing with Reiki, and I've been providing the Reiki healing course. I've been in 2018 I met my alchemy teacher in Argentina too, and I studied with him for 2 years. I studied plant alchemy, so it's transformation of plants into medicines. And with all that knowledge from the world of Hinduism and Ayurveda and the meditation and Buddhism, I also came to know Western spirituality through my study of alchemy, and I started connecting with old alchemists, old medieval alchemists like Paracelsus. I've read Paracelsus books, He is one of the ones that I read the most. There's also Lulio and other alchemists from that time. But what always struck me is how these men were at the same time they were known as alchemists, but they were also mathematicians and artists and musicians, like Leonardo da Vinci, for example. They were spiritual people, and at the same time they were artists, and at the same time they were scientists and astronomers. And so all of this always has danced in my mind, and I thought, how could these people be so successful and so smart and so cultured to be able to do all of this fantastic work? And well, with the years, the conclusion that I am arriving to is that the Awen, as the Druids call it, the inspiration, the Sophia, how it's called also with the Greeks, is the chalice from which we can drink and feed our mortal lives and experiences, to be able to access all of these different realms of knowledge that they are near us and they are at our reach. So with my understanding through the years, I came to the conclusion that having a spiritual practice and communicating with the other realm, with the other side, is the way that we can really materialize new things in our lives. And this is literally how this podcast came about. About 2 months ago, I should grab my journal because I don't have the exact date, but I will say it was 2 or 3 months ago. I am recording now in the month of December. It's just the 1st of December today. And I will say maybe more because it was about around the summer. I wrote in my journal an entry that I will talk to you about in the following episodes, which was about the limitless capacity of our own intellect, of our own soul, and of our own spiritual practice. How limitless are we? And what if it's limitless, then there is no end and there are no boundaries. So how far can I go? I ask myself in my journal this question: how far can I wish? How far can I create? How far can I desire? And I said, can I maybe write a book that doesn't exist? Can I create something that doesn't exist yet? Can I create a podcast out of something that I yet don't know about? Because I had no ideas for a book or for a podcast or for anything, but I was just saying in that journal, writing down, can I create a podcast out of nowhere? Can I make things appear out of nowhere? This is witchcraft. This is what witchcraft is for me, is opening a channel to communicate with the other realm, to bring about things that don't exist yet. We're bringing the future to our present. The future is not already in our present because it's things that we yet don't know. I don't know how I could do this, but I'm bringing it in. And here I am today doing my first episode of my podcast because the awan, the inspiration, came to me. And I realized that I already had all the material that I needed for doing something like this. So this is who I am. I am a yoga teacher. I am an alchemist. We're going to talk about alchemy in this podcast. We're going to talk about all of this spiritual tools. We're going to talk about awan and inspiration. We're going to talk about the definition, the meaning of the word witch, what it is to call yourself a witch. Why will you do it? Why will you not do it? And we're going to talk about Irish mythology a little bit. We're going to talk about this territory because this is the territory that called me. So I'm going to tell you my experiences. I'm going to tell you my communications, how this information has come to me through different things that happened to me along the Greenway, my favorite place, with the Oaks, my best friends. And so this is a bit of what this podcast is going to be about. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about the alchemy of life. That's the name of the episode. And this is when I'm going to tell you how my practice of alchemy with plants, of transforming plants into medicines, turned into something that is more of a spiritual alchemy, more of transforming of the soul and of transforming of the real life. This is why it's called the life alchemy, because it went from the lab and from the mind to the whole aspects of life, a 360. And so that's gonna be next episode. I hope you join me. And I think for today, this is it. This is my introduction. I didn't want to get too long into this, and I hope that you got a glimpse of something that you like. I promise I'm gonna be telling stories to your ears because, as I told you, I had experiences, I had contacts with spirits and beings from this magical land, and that's what I'm planning to tell you. So if you're in for that, then I'm gonna see you the next time in episode 2. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Remember that you can find me on Instagram, the Plant Alchemist, and you can also find me by that name on YouTube. You're probably going to be seeing this recording in YouTube too. So, yeah, see you next time. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Lost in the mystic where worlds take flight, a witch's melody waving through the air. Mysterious wonders beyond